What's happening, everybody? Let's go for take two of episode 314 of the Effin' Marks podcast. I am Jay. Brainless One will be joining me shortly. We've got a lot to talk about as Brainless One was getting into. We've got two big premium live events this weekend. I think we also have an NXT takeover. We're not going to get too deep into that, but we will talk about Night of Champions. We are going to talk about Double or Nothing, and we've got a whole host of things that are moving and shaking in the wrestling world. The continuing drama saga of CM Punk. We've got Hulk Hogan allegedly possibly going to have a wrestling match, possibly at WrestleMania 40. Like, yeah. So that was something interesting to see. We got Money in the Bank qualifying beginning next week, and I think of no along with that.
Yeah. What's up, cousin Jay?
Hey man, not too much at the moment, but you know we got a lot of wrestling to get to, man.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
I mean, between the fact that we have not only a pay-per-view on Sunday, but we have a premium live event tomorrow in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. So we got to talk about that with our predictions. But you just said the big juicy thing I really wanted to talk about this week, and that is Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, the immortal one, the man with the 24-inch biceps, the man who body slammed 700-pound Andre the Giant at the Pontiac Silverdome in front of 93,173 people that ultimately led to Andre dying 9 days later. Hulk Hogan, that one, wants to have a retirement match at WrestleMania 40, brother.
And you know what? He also deserves, before they play Real American, he and his band Metallica should probably play For Whom the Bell Tolls or maybe Master of Puppets. You know, I think that would be great.
Hold on.
This match was pitched for this year.
You know, I know we've clowned on Ric Flair for the fact, and the visual of seeing him on the mat, basically just dying in the ring, because I have no idea if that was the point where his pacemaker unplugged or not, but that visual of Ric Flair will forever haunt me until I take my last breath. I'm just telling you right now, I really, really do not want to see Hulk Hogan. As much as, and believe me, coming from an original Hulkamaniac, I took my vitamins and said my prayers with the best of them. What you gonna do? I'm a Hulkamaniac through and through. Does not mean I want to see Hulk Hogan get in the ring once again. Sorry, I just don't.
And I know the Hulkster has kind of said he wishes his last match was in WWE. It happened to be in TNA, and it wasn't that great then. It's not going to get any better now. And the punches that he would be getting thrown at him from one, and this is the alleged match that they want, Shane O'Mac. I'm sure Shane O'Mac would do a great job of bumping around. You know what? I think he might do a better job of bumping around for Hogan than Shawn Michaels in 2005 SummerSlam.
No.
But he would probably tear his quad, and then when he was getting upset about that first quad being torn, he'd tear the other one. And then Snoop Dogg would be his proxy and then take out Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan would lose in his final match while Snoop Dogg is sitting on the throne of victory smoking a blunt in Philly.
We both know that if Shane McMahon tore both of his quads at WrestleMania 40 next year and Hulk Hogan's in the ring, it's not going to be Snoop Dogg that gets the W. It's going to be Hulk Hogan running off the ropes and delivering one last leg drop. And yes, I did say that I really don't want to see Hulk Hogan wrestle ever again. But if I do happen upon Hulk Hogan dropping one more legendary leg drop at WrestleMania, you know I'm going to mark out like it was 1990 for me. So, I mean, that just writes itself. But first of all, nobody wants to see Shane McMahon and Hulk Hogan. And then the other rumored match was Hulk Hogan wants to have the match with Steve Austin next year.
Another rumored match for next year at WrestleMania that's been brought up is a rematch between one Cody Rhodes and the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. Now we're a long way off from WrestleMania. I would not be against them having a rematch next year at the Show of Shows. Right now they have a little bit of a problem of, Cody being on the other show. But, I mean, you could solve that by trade. You could solve that by winning the Royal Rumble. There are things that they could work around that.
Money.
But, I think between now and then, and this is going to play in part what my prediction will be for later on for Roman Reigns and his match in Saudi Arabia, for where I think Roman's character and his story is going.
Okay. I'm telling you right now, spoiler alert, I am going batshit crazy with my predictions between the two shows. In fact, I'm probably going to swing for more fences in AEW.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So one interesting tidbit of information that came out this week from Nick Khan is that during the rights negotiations for SmackDown, he mentioned that WWE is open to expanding SmackDown to 3 hours. What say you, Brainless One?
No.
Is this a Michael Scott, Toby coming back from Costa Rica level no?
Yes. No, God, no, please, no, I wouldn't do it. Because the biggest gripe that people have right now with Monday Night Raw is that it's 3 hours long. It was one thing when they would make it for like the special occasion Monday Night Raws, which were basically the draft, and like if they did like the 25-year, 1,000th episode of Raw, and they're bringing out everybody and their brother and every gimmick known to man. That's one thing. But consistently putting 3 hours of wrestling on every single Monday is just exhausting. And to add a third hour to SmackDown would really not be a smart decision either, because it's going to make SmackDown be the same thing. People are going to be like, oh, God, another hour of SmackDown?
And, with Raw, within the same interview, Khan said, keeping Raw on Monday is not like a deal breaker. They are open to moving it to whether it was Tuesday night or what have you. And I think in part these things are to encourage other people to bid on the rights for those shows. Mm-hmm. Now, again, I think it's an interesting time with them having a Hollywood writers' strike. Basically, WWE is strike proof. You would not have to deal with this. So, does this help WWE in their current position? I realize that their deal is up, a year and 4 months from now. But there's a high possibility there could be a strike, and it could cause some kind of deals to be signed. And in part, that could play a role in this.
Right. And I'm curious, too, because we did mention, I think it was last week, that Fox had taken, or they had posted the next season's schedule of what's on there, and SmackDown was a huge omission. And now Nick Khan comes out and does what he does, or says what he says in his interview. So, I mean, I really as a wrestling fan, I like having SmackDown on Friday nights because, normal people who work the 9 to 5s, you can stay up and watch. I know that 10 o'clock isn't late, but 10 o'clock on Friday you can stay up, and then most of the people have the next day off. I like, as a wrestling fan, having it on Fridays. Obviously, for me, for podcast purposes, any other day during the week works, obviously. But
Sure.
I mean, honestly, they really, because people have been clamoring that they need a night of wrestling on Thursday. I mean, do
And SmackDown should be a Thursday show.
yeah, and it used to be on Tuesdays. It's just
Show.
yeah, it's been on every day but Monday. So, do we really need wrestling on Fridays?
If I think, and this is a big if it ended up moving to Thursday, would this give an opening to Rampage to be something more than it's been, and them being able to move Rampage to an earlier time slot, possibly win it a bigger audience? Because with Rampage, clearly they know, like, we're not going to compete with SmackDown. Ain't no way, ain't no how.
Right.
But would that open up the gates of, like, oh, we get a Friday 9 o'clock time slot instead of 10 p.m., But, then we'd have Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday of AEW.
Yeah. I mean, but then we'd have, but let's say they did that. Let's say they moved SmackDown to Thursday. Then we would have WWE Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And then Wednesday, Friday, Saturday would be AEW. So we would have 6 out of 7 days a week of professional wrestling. And then obviously Sunday is going to have pay-per-views.
Right.
Unless they decide to bring back Shotgun Saturday, Velocity. Yes, they could bring back Velocity for Sundays.
Chris Brown, the thing that will make that what you're talking about a near impossibility is all the deals that Fox has with their affiliates currently, and a lot of the Fox affiliates in the United States are what are called duopolies, and so they will have shows at 10 p.m., but then they also have ones at 11 p.m., which would cause all sorts of issues on that side. Fox has been running with only 2 hours of prime time since their very beginning. So unless they move them to Fox on the weekends for SmackDown, which highly unlikely, I'd say to the point of not happening, it would not be on Fox where they would go to 3 hours. It would have to be something like USA took them on, or one of the other large cable networks that has time to fill, and they want to expand their footprint.
Here's a thought, because they just did this merger with Endeavor, and obviously it's not official.
So basically, they have an agreement, but there are all sorts of hurdles that they have to do with like, I think the Securities Exchange Commission and a couple other things within the United States to make sure that this is, above board, and, this isn't creating a monopoly, and this isn't doing this, that, and the other thing. Clearly with AEW as something out there, it's not a monopoly. Clearly with other, combat sports,
Bellator.
it doesn't make UFC a monopoly.
Right.
So they'll get over that hurdle. But the deal won't be officially, like, finalized. Probably, I think they're saying fall, which will be about the time when they're hoping to have their media rights stuff kind of all buttoned up.
Okay, so obviously, just without the dotting of the I's and crossing of the T's, this thing is pretty much a done deal.
Yeah. I think all the legal stuff that Vince has been dealing with is a lot of, people just trying to be a thorn in his side as he puts forth his dastardly plans, and he twirls his mustache oh so quickly.
I just a thought, though, because this deal is at some point it's going to get done.
Right.
Everybody
Right.
knows that UFC is BFFs with ESPN.
Right.
Is it out of the realm of possibilities that WWE is hoping that maybe ESPN goes to them and says, hey, we'll give you our Thursday night slot from 8 to 10. You can put your SmackDown on there. Oh, and by the way, since we already have Pat McAfee under contract, you can use Pat McAfee to go back on SmackDown to be the color analyst with Michael Cole.
It's not the worst idea out there, and I think ESPN would be a place that possibly would want to bid on this. Now, ESPN is in the middle. Sounds like they're going to be laying off a bunch of people, but that could be part of a restructuring as opposed to, hey, we're losing money. It might be, well, we don't need this division anymore because we're heading in a different direction here.
Right.
Doug, I just have to say this. Yeah.
Yeah. For the record, I once again cannot read the comments just like last week, and it's a very, very sad day for the Brainless One.
You can't swipe left on your screen and see comments.
No, this isn't Tinder for me. Hey.
Hey. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know what the hell it is. Like the last 2 weeks when I've connected when you started, all I get is just you very zoomed up and no comments. I can't even swipe. I'm telling you, Zuckerberg does not like the Brainless One because he does everything in his power to try to mute me from saying whatever I want to say. Hell, there was a set of memes. It was either this week's or last week's that when I posted, I'm like, I'm going to get in trouble. I already know that I'm going to open up Facebook and I'm going to see the notification, and then I'm going to get the text message from you saying, what did you do now? I'm kidding. Usually Jay's laughing at me and saying, this is ridiculous that they got you for this. It is. Yeah. It usually is. But
it's like when they get Gags the Clown and it's like going, what did you do, dude? He's like, I'm just trying to have fun out here and people are getting offended.
Do you think that at this point, the amount of times he's been in Facebook jail, that he basically shares a cell with Sean O and El Diablo Blanco?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's very similar to Guardians of the Galaxy, where they share it out, and then there's going to be a plan hatched.
Yes.
And whether or not they can defeat Ronan together, I don't know. I have not seen your dad in the presence of an Infinity Stone, but I'm going to guess he actually probably can grab hold of one. And not disintegrate.
I would be afraid if he got all of the stones with the glove and snapped his fingers, because that's just going to be an ugly scene.
Yeah.
Going to lose a lot of Yankee fans.
Except for Uncle Ronnie. Happy birthday, Uncle Ronnie.
Say Uncle Ronnie.
And your hat.
And the koozie.
Yeah.
Both in Cooperstown.
Yeah. All right. So, we've been talking on and on. Go ahead.
I was going to say, one thing I wanted to mention is Dark Side of the Ring. This will be debuting next week, and they did announce that it's going to be Chris Candido and Tammy Sitch as the first official episode of season 4 of Dark Side of the Ring. I'm excited, and I'm really, really happy that they started off with one of the better episodes for the season.
When Vice declared bankruptcy, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, I think there were a few people that were frightened, like, oh, maybe we're not going to get to see this. There are a lot of very interested people in purchasing Vice. Vice is not going away. Vice just is having some financial issues, and Dark Side of the Ring is their most popular property. There's no way in hell Dark Side of the Ring is going to see the light of day, and you're absolutely right. This is a slam dunk to start the season with this, to have that big bang off the top of the season. And they have a lot of really good content for the whole season. You never know when you're going to get, that episode that really just kicks it into high gear, like when we had the Herb Abrams episode where like I was like, going, all right, I'll check this out, and it ended up being like the best thing ever. It
It's
really did.
Top 3 episode on Dark Side of the Ring. I'm glad you mentioned it too, because the other day I was doing dishes, because when I do dishes I like to listen to Corny, and it just happened to, I was like, I wonder. So I typed it up, Jim Cornette and UWF, and sure enough, he gave like there's like a 4-minute clip of him talking about Herb Abrams. And the only thing I could take away from it was, he goes, I've known Brian Blair for a long time. What he said about Herb Abrams at the end of that episode might have been the most accurate statement ever said in the history of mankind.
It's one of my favorites.
The man died doing what he loved most: hookers and blow.
All right, Doug Masters just said, Disney stole my childhood. They ruined Guardians 3. It was still good, but they went all wholesome and strayed away from the Guardians vibe, and the soundtrack was not near as poppin' as 2. I enjoyed 3. You know what? I wasn't a huge fan of number 2, honestly. I thought 2 was okay, but it gave me the same vibes as Avengers 2, Age of Ultron. Like, it was all right, but like I was like, at the end of it. I'm still, Guardians 1 is still my favorite.
Agreed. And I haven't seen the third one yet. I really want to see the third one, just because I think it's great that Dave Bautista and Andy Dwyer are in the movie together.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah! All right. So with Goldberg, talking about his retirement and or a small retirement tour, and, I was wondering, like, who's going to promote this thing? Who's going to, like, that's a lot of work. And I don't think, that would be something Goldberg would want. He would have to hire a team. And if he's hiring a team to do all these things, like, how much money would he actually get in the end for doing this? But there have been some things that have come out. There are some folks who are looking to promote it. And the folks who run Fight TV have actually kind of reached out, kind of their hand, and said, hey, if Bill Goldberg wants to do something and have like it pay-per-view style, we're willing to talk with him and get this done. So there are some partners out there apparently for Goldberg if he wants to, do this retirement tour. On a related note, Bill Goldberg, apparently, while working on his farm, I think it was Oklahoma, had a piece of equipment hit him in the head, and he bled a gusher almost as bad as Brock Lesnar did in Puerto Rico against Cody.
But not like Jon Moxley 5 seconds into any match he's ever been in.
AEW match.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
Or GCW.
Yeah. Did not believe that much.
Yes, that's very true. I'm curious, and I even checked. I'm very disappointed that DraftKings, when they did their poll or their pool for the AEW Double or Nothing on Sunday, that they only did it for the main event. I would have liked to have seen one for the whole show, saying like, how quickly into the match is Moxley going to be bleeding? 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or doesn't bleed at all?
So, all right. What would you lay the odds at as far as Moxley bleeding, Kenta getting injured, quicker thing to happen?
Oh, Moxley bleeding.
Okay.
The only things that are faster than Moxley bleeding, or even remotely close to faster than Moxley bleeding, is Cody crying in the beginning of a promo when he talks about his father. My father's Dusty Rhodes. Tear. And Santino getting eliminated from the Royal Rumble. I wasn't ready.
Who is Goldberg's last opponent? Which is the big question. I honestly think we're going to get a WWE send-off for him. I think it's going to be a WrestleMania send-off. I think it's going to be at WrestleMania 40. I think he's going to wrestle a few shows independently and will have that final match in WWE. As far as an opponent for him, you know, looking at the current landscape, it's like, you know, Goldberg's done the honors an awful lot. I'm wondering if he feels like he wants to go out, winning a match.
Dolph Ziggler.
So I don't know. I don't know who I would see as his last opponent, but if he's doing some kind of independent stuff, I'm going to put a name out there that I really don't want to see, but I think might be one that we do see, which is Ryback. Because there aren't many people out there that are available to be able to have a match with him that have any name or any notoriety.
Ryback. The Ryback. I mean, I like the Ryback. I was a huge fan of the Ryback, and then they turned him into a main eventer guy, and then they found out he couldn't wrestle when all he should have been was a squash guy from the entire time. But
right.
Still my favorite guy who just randomly just squashed people every single week. More so than the Funkasaurus, barely over the Funkasaurus, but more so than the Funkasaurus. He was just, it was an interesting character. No, nobody wants to see Ryback and Goldberg.
Chris Brown, Gunther would certainly be more credible, but at that point, I mean, Gunther might be in a title match.
If
I don't think Goldberg would be in a title match. I think he'd be in something high profile. That my hope would be by next year WrestleMania, the LA Knight is above the I need to go against a legend to help get a little bit of shine on me, unless it's Stone Cold, because I think you get more shine from Stone Cold than you do Goldberg. But
I mean, you're comparing Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, and this isn't any sort of disrespect towards Goldberg at all, but you're comparing apples to oranges here with Austin and Goldberg, because as big of a name and as polarizing as Goldberg was, nobody was hotter and a bigger attraction in the peak of professional wrestling than Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm sorry. I mean, Goldberg going over on LA Knight does nothing for LA Knight. Because look at what Austin going over on Kevin Owens did. The following year, he won the tag team titles in the main event. And
yeah,
his tag team partner wrestled Johnny Knoxville.
Right. Chris Brown says his secondary choice in WWE would be Bronson Reed. I think that's not a bad choice at all.
Braun Brecker.
Yeah, that'd be really good. He just needs to, start showing up.
And I'll tell you right now, Braun Brecker makes a lot of sense, because I know down in NXT the last few weeks, they're saying he has the most devastating spear they've ever seen. And this is coming from Booker T, too.
And beyond that, I mean, there's history with, the Steiner family and Goldberg back in WCW days. I think he feuded with both Scott and Rick in the singles level.
I've been feuding with Scott Steiner for over 20-something years. Ever since he hopped up and down like a bunny rabbit the night of the finger poke of doom, I have never forgiven a human being for anything like that. Ever. I'm sorry. I haven't even forgiven Paul O'Neill for the shit he used to do as a baseball player in the 90s.
Even though Scott Steiner provided one of the greatest promos in the wrestling industry.
Jay, there was I've said for 20-something years, Scott Steiner was on steroids, with a side of steroids, covered in steroids, with extra steroids.
Yeah.
A man who looks like that, who's just completely ripped and just looks like a thing of bubble wrap, should not be hopping up and down like the Easter Bunny on Sundays. Oh my God, really? I'm you're a grown-ass man. You're acting like the the Wolverines just won the national championship in football. It was Hulk Hogan winning the World Heavyweight Championship in a bullshit match. It was almost as bad as when Triple H took the European title off of Shawn Michaels. When all he did was run up. Oh my God! Never mind. I'm just gonna upset myself. Especially because now I'm in that deep dive, Jay, and I'm already 2 matches in. Well, I'm like halfway through the second match.
Yeah.
I had to give myself a mental break because
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's funny too because like I'm doing the random thing. So Nicole's pulling him out of the hat for me. So she pulls out the thing, and I'm going, no Kenny, no Kenny, no Kenny, no Kenny, no Kenny, no Kenny, no Kenny. And she opens it up, and she goes, spoiler alert, she goes, it says Sting versus Jeff Hardy, Victory Road, 2011.
I mean, at least that match only lasted about like a minute.
Jay, it took him longer to come out when his music started than the match did. Oh my God!
Let's look at it. I'm putting some positive spin on this. At least when he debuted originally on AEW, he came out a little faster for his brother, even though he had to dance. But I mean, at least he was a little quicker to the ring.
Jay, I don't know. Somebody should have lost their job that day. I'm just telling you right now. If Arn Anderson got fired for Alicia Fox showing up to a house show drunk, somebody, if not everybody, the company should have went under the second Jeff Hardy walked through that curtain and made his first appearance in front of the fans. Because this is not the first time I've seen this. I watched it one day when I was on break a couple of years ago. And I didn't get a real chance to like really like marinate on it and everything. It was blatant. Like he walked, I'm like, oh yeah. He looked like me after I did Edward 40 Hands the first time.
Yeah, Bischoff, I believe, was like at that time in charge, and he for him the decision was like going, well, this is the advertised main event, and more or less he was like going, okay, we're going to do the advertised main event, but told Sting, don't let him get up. More or less pin him immediately. So we're going to like do what we advertised, but we're going to really cheat the fans anyway.
Oh,
I mean, they could have done an injury angle where Jeff got like beat up and like, oh, sorry, card subject to change. Sorry.
oh my God, Elias has been ran over by a car and there's a drunken Jeff Hardy. Oh my God, it's Cody Deaner. What did you do to him, Jeff Hardy?
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
he ran over ODB.
Yeah. I mean, that was a bad call. Bad call.
The one thing, and then I'm not going to mention the rest of the time until the whole thing is done. The one thing that made me laugh was Jeremy Borash, who was doing the introductions for the match and everything. He looks for Hardy in the corner, and Hardy's not there. And then he looks and sees the Hardys outside of the ring instead of being in the ring face-to-face with Sting in the World Heavyweight Championship main event. He's on the outside, and Borash gives this weird look, and then he does the introduction. I died. I laughed from that. I was like, that is funny as shit.
Mm. Yeah. So this week, while doing media for Double or Nothing, Tony Khan said he would love for Sting to wrestle as long as he wants to. He says Sting has given, he was like, as long as he still feels like he's capable of doing it, he does an awful lot for our company just by being here.
Right.
So I'm open to him finishing up whenever he's ready. And he's like, he kind of gave me a date and then he kind of backed off from the date. So I'm just going to let it be on Sting for whenever he wants to officially hang up the boots, but I want him around as long as I can have him. And I don't think that's a bad idea considering all the turmoil in that locker room that they've endured for the past clearly year and a half, couple years. So
good on Sting, man. After what happened with him in WWE, who the hell would have thought that Sting would have had the run he had in AEW? I'm really happy. I really am. Sting is my all-time favorite WCW wrestler. He was cool, whether he was Surfer Sting or if he was Crow Sting. He was
right.
just cool. And he had a great, unique look about him. And the fact that the man has been wrestling since the 80s and he's 60-something years old and he's better than probably 2/3 of the AEW roster. I think it's great. I really do. And if I were Tony Khan, I'd do whatever it takes to get Sting happy because you know that once his career is done and you don't get him locked up, WWE's going to be, hey, Sting, come on, back up the truck. We need to get him on a Legends or whatever the hell the Mosh and Thrashers. Yeah. So I mean, honestly, good on Sting. He's had an incredible career. He deserves having his flowers and all this stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was one of the people considered for Goldberg's last opponent.
Yeah, if Tony Khan would allow that, if Goldberg really wants his last match in Israel, and I'm sure he can, if Tony Khan wants to keep Sting happy and Sting wants, that match to happen, although Sting has also kind of said, I really don't think I'm in the position to do a singles match this point in my career.
Right.
So
it's interesting you mentioned that, Tony Khan allowing somebody to do something outside of AEW. So last weekend, Mercedes Mone, formerly known as Sasha Banks, was fighting for the New Japan Pro Wrestling never open weight.
I think it's like strong women's style.
Or strong, yeah. Some kind of weird but cool name for, and it's the inaugural champion. And not only that, it was in the main event, and Tony Khan offered up Willow Nightingale to be Mercedes' opponent in the match. Well, near the end of the match, Sasha did a move onto the outside, landed awkward on her leg, and broke her ankle. Willow Nightingale is now the New Japan Open Strongweight IWGP SWV EIO champion.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was interesting because Tony Khan, when he was asked about why he chose Willow Nightingale to have this opportunity, he said, well, because Willow Nightingale is somebody who I've been using all the time. I've needed her on Dark and she wrestled. I needed her on Dynamite, she wrestled. I needed her on Rampage and wrestled. Ring of Honor. She goes out and exemplifies what being an AEW star is when she goes and she does all these independent shows and all these other bookings that she takes. He goes, so that's why I sent her to represent AEW in this match, and she ends up winning.
Yeah. So it was called the Strong Women's Title Tournament that they were having, and this was the finals. With that, so, we have Forbidden Door coming up in about a month. And they asked Tony Khan about whether Mercedes Moné would end up being part of that show. And he played super coy, just saying, only she and I know what's going on. Whether or not she'll be healed from the ankle injury and available, clearly with her having a relationship with New Japan, and it's kind of open-ended, she certainly could show up at Forbidden Door. But one thing that is interesting that I saw today is that the Forbidden Door apparently for a handful of wrestlers is actually closed right now.
Interesting.
So on the list that I saw of the Forbidden Door possibly being closed, and these are AEW stars, are Andrade, the Lucha Brothers, Bandito, Vikingo, Rush, Commander, and a few others. Notice anything about all of these individuals?
Yes, they all have ties to AAA, and I think there's a deal that New Japan and AAA do not work together because they don't get along or something like that.
So it's CMLL, which is another big promotion in Mexico, has a very strong relationship with New Japan. And because of that, and because some of those performers, go again for the rival thing, New Japan, I think, is, saying, we'll do the Forbidden Door, but we can't use these people because it's going to cause us problems with one of our partners in North America. And we can't have that. But I just think it's odd, kind of hypocritical, where you have a thing called Forbidden Door and doors open, let's do business with everybody. And, oh, by the way, but we're not going to do business with, these members of your roster. Oh, by the way, Kenny Omega was somebody who was like AAA champion, but they allowed it Forbidden Door. So I don't know if that's, something extra that's been brought in this year where New Japan, again, is like, hey, we did well with this show. You did well with this show. But this year, this is one thing we're requesting and asking that we didn't ask last year, but for us to continue this and for us to continue having a good relationship with our partner, this is our request.
Which is funny that you did mention that because Kenny was all three champions at the same time. So he wasn't. That was the thing. He wasn't IWGP World Heavyweight Champion at the time that he was AAA and AEW. It was Impact's championship that he was.
Yeah.
But he is their actual United States champion right now. But I think that's funny because he does. I don't know if he still does the stuff for AAA now that he's no longer their champion. Because I don't think obviously he's had the injury issues and he's like my age, but.
I think since he's come back, he's more or less limited himself to New Japan and AEW. Because I think he realizes, and he said in interviews, that his time is running thin as being a performer in the ring. It's because I think he's getting arthritis in his toes.
Sure it's not in his jaw? Talking too much?
Yeah.
Oh, so question. Since he is the IWGP United States champion and he is an AEW contracted wrestler, do we finally get to see Twinkle Toes wrestle himself at Forbidden Door?
We did have Abyss go against his brother at one point. They did that. They made that happen. At one point, we did see The Undertaker versus The Undertaker.
Hold on a second.
If they could find somebody else in the world that could really kind of have that douchey flavor that we get from the presence of Kenny Omega, that really could fulfill that.
We'll just have him fight the blow-up doll again. Jesus Christ.
Well, I think the charisma would be on the same level there.
The blow-up doll has more charisma than Kenny Omega does. It also cuts a better promo, and it has won championships more than Kenny Omega has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, on the injury front, one Dakota Kai apparently is having ACL issues, and that is why we are getting Bayley with Io Sky, and they're trying their hand to get the tag team championships, the women's tag team titles.
And also on that injury front, Liv Morgan also is injured. Apparently, her and Dakota Kai got injured in the same match, and it was because Dakota saw that Liv was hurt was the reason why she kind of like protected her, so that's how she ended up tearing her ACL. I can't.
It's a bummer. That's a super bummer. And like, Liv and Raquel had to relinquish the titles, and now it's like a tag title tournament at Night of Champions, or is it a four-way?
Fatal four-way.
Yeah.
But and it's funny too because number one, I adore Dakota Kai now. I can't say enough good things about her. She's definitely one of my favorite wrestlers since her days at NXT.
Yeah.
So hopefully a speedy recovery for that. But I think it's funny that Raquel Rodriguez loses Liv Morgan after losing the tag team titles, and instead of just like maybe having her find a new tag team partner, they have her relinquish the titles and then go find a new tag team partner who is now Shotzi Blackheart.
Hey, well.
I don't know what the hell they're doing with the women's tag team championships, especially because you have the NXT women's tag team champions sitting on SmackDown.
Yeah. Anyway, so there was also a report out there about Jamie Hayter possibly being injured. Now, I don't know if this is a work or if it's a shoot, but she is defending her women's title this weekend against Toni Storm. So, will this play a role in this? I don't know.
I am so confused what they're doing with that entire storyline, Jay. I don't know if Saraya is the leader of her group with Ruby Soho and Toni Storm, or if they're all equals, or what the hell the deal is. I don't know. Is Toni Storm the main eventer now? Is she, because she's the one that's fighting for the championship? This is her second time fighting Jamie Hayter.
Yeah, I mean, is she either has to win or she has to go away from the main event picture for a long time.
Yeah. I'm just so confused because your best heel in your entire women's division, your second best heel in your entire women's division is a face in this storyline, which you guys are basically trying to rip off as NWO Light.
Right.
And you're doing it with freaking Paige, Ruby Riott, and Toni Storm. Toni Storm, the girl who's remembered for having the whipped cream thrown in her face and crying. Ruby Soho or Ruby Riott, who was best known for. And then you got
right.
And then you got Paige, who's crying that WWE held me back. I don't think WWE held you back enough after what you did to that NXT Women's title.
She won the title her first night on the main roster.
Yeah, I remember.
Holding her back. I mean, if you want to say they were holding her back for health reasons, I could get on board with that. They were just trying to be super protective of her. I get that. But
I don't know. Of all the storylines that they're doing in AEW, this is the one that is, there's quite a few of them. But this one's just the most bothersome that it's hard for me to watch the product every Wednesday. I'm sorry. I just can't do it. I make it through like the first 15, 20 minutes because that's where Orange Cassidy is defending his All-Atlantic International Championship.
And you might not even get that opportunity anymore. He's facing 20 other individuals this weekend.
He is defending the title in the Blackjack Battle Royal against 20. My favorite part was, I think it was Ricky Starks saying, I'm going to go out and get that championship, and then freaking Jay White, who they've completely fumbled in AEW since he debuted, because all you did was you put him with Juice Robinson, and we're gonna form an AEW Bullet Club with Juice Robinson, a guy who didn't even make it out of AEW developmental, just like Kenny Omega. Juice Robinson looks like he lives on the streets in San Francisco. He looks like he yells at people for no apparent reason. I just, and that that's all going to kick in. Orange Cassidy's walking out. I'm telling you right now, spoiler alert, Orange Cassidy's walking out with the International Championship on Sunday.
Okay.
He is their most over champion, and you can't argue, and you just can't argue. I'm sorry.
Yeah?
Yeah?
Okay. All right. In WWE news, it's been reported that there are going to be some minor cuts to the roster before July 1st. Now, July 1st is when they're going to have their Money in the Bank pay-per-view over in England. So we might see a few names on the chopping block in the next few weeks. You know, there are certainly a few names on the roster that, you know, have either been dead weight or, you know, just they haven't done anything with. And if any of them happens to be Eric Young, I will be so pissed off.
Same.
He deserves better. He deserves to be on TV.
Jeez. I mean, the first name that comes to mind for me is Von Wagner. You got to get rid of Von Wagner.
Okay.
Rick Boogs. Emma. Oh, maybe not Emma. No, the other one. The one that went to high school with Jeff. Dana Brooke. They can cut her. They don't really need her anymore. She's kind of get rid of Scraps or Scripps or whatever the fuck Reggie's calling himself now. He can go bye-bye. I don't give a shit about that. Did I say Rick Boogs yet?
You said, yeah. Allegedly, there might be a match added onto this card in Saudi Arabia that involves Rick Boogs.
They're having wrestle a camel?
Because a man who is super over and clearly not given the proper push by WWE at the current moment. One, LA Knight is very beloved in Saudi Arabia. And what do you have to say about that, Brainless One?
If you ain't talking about LA Knight, you ain't talking, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah? What did they have, like a 2-minute squash match against the Street Profits last week? And then he beat the shit out of Rick Boogs? I mean, not like I'm going to watch it tomorrow or anything, but like, nobody, why would you subject the Saudi Arabians? I know that this is just, it's not fair that WWE is in Saudi Arabia because of all the things they've done, but it's not fair of us to unleash Rick Boogs on the Saudi people, Jay. Even you can admit that that's even just a torture upon itself.
Yeah. Just reading comment here for you. Juice Robinson is AEW's answer to Austin Theory. That's what Chris Brown is saying. All right.
Yeah. Sorry.
But I do want to see LA Knight get a rapturous applause in Saudi Arabia, even if I have to tune in on YouTube to hear the whole crowd say yeah.
Yeah.
They better put the rocket to LA Knight's back and let him rise to the top. That way, when we're at WrestleMania next year, night one, he's main eventing that mofo against Seth Franklin Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship.
I don't care who he's wrestling next year at WrestleMania. Hell, they can make him the host of WrestleMania next year. If they make him the host of WrestleMania next year, I'm going to be in the front row right next to wherever the hell he's sitting during the entire time. That's what I want.
I think for our end of things, that might be the most entertaining.
Yes.
That way we could get a whole bunch of yas, and then instead of like The Miz, who has the most WrestleMania losses in one weekend, maybe we get LA Knight, who has the most WrestleMania wins in one weekend. He just keeps on setting himself up with matches.
I mean, how many? He would have to top whatever Randy Savage did at 4.
Yeah, he had 4 victories, so you know maybe he could do like George Foreman did that night in the '70s after he lost to Ali and fight 5 guys in Knight just to prove that he's still the baddest mofo on the planet. So we get LA Knight said, yeah, I need 5 matches. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me talk to you. Yeah.
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 All right, so one Logan Paul is going to be returning to TV soon. Clearly, he's coming back for Money in the
Oh, of
Bank.
course.
And I think your prediction of Logan Paul winning this thing, it might happen. I think it's between him and LA Knight. And we don't even know who the participants are yet, but clearly Logan Paul is going to be a part of it.
Oh, he has to be a part of it. Like, the way that spot that him and Ricochet had at the Royal Rumble, people are still talking about.
Right.
And it was like 4 or 5 months ago. He's gonna have some crazy shit that he's gonna do in this match. I want to see it. I do. Whatever the hell it is, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great, and him being part of it enhances what happens in this match. So yes, give me Logan Paul in this match. Another name that's been floated around has been Dominic Mysterio about being in the match. I don't think the chances of him winning it are very good, but they have, I guess, apparently backstage, they're very impressed with his improvement in the ring, in character development. They're not talking about his mic skills. I would have zero issue with Dominic Mysterio being in the Money in the Bank ladder as long as he doesn't win it.
All right.
But if he has, I agree he's not like Seth Rollins, AJ Styles in the ring, but he's also not Ryback in the ring. So, right. And his character work is just incredible. I don't know who gets more heat, him or MJF. They might be the 2 biggest heels in professional wrestling, and I cannot believe I'm saying that about somebody that isn't Roman Reigns right now.
Right.
But I mean, he's busted his ass. But again, to go back to Logan Paul, I'd love to see it. I don't want to see him win it.
Okay. Chris Brown said that Kennedy, in an interview, said before he officially hangs up the tights, he would like to have one more run in WWE. Kennedy!
Kennedy! I think it's a little too late now. He's got to be like 50 at this point, right?
He's not quite that old, and a lot of the problems with him before in his WWE run was people thought that his work in the ring was sloppy, and I know Randy Orton definitely destroyed one of his pushes. It was that LA Lakers versus Denver Nuggets one with the East Stan Kroenke episode when in the playoffs, and yeah.
Oh, he didn't kill his run. He got him fired. I will never forget that because he dropped Randy Orton on his head, and Vince was pissed off because of the whole thing with the Pepsi Center in L.A. and everything. And Randy Orton was like, hey, this guy's unsafe. And Vince was like, all right, I'm going to fire him.
But, if they could find a purpose for Kennedy, I'm okay with him having another run, but I don't know. I mean, he was always charismatic and good on the mic. Chris Brown talking about, hey, get Kennedy and LA Knight in the ring and just let them talk.
I was actually thinking maybe LA Knight and Kennedy as a tag team would be rather interesting just because 2 phenomenal people on the mic. It's funny, I actually have a Mr. Kennedy bobblehead over here, and I was like, I could probably go get it, but I'm not going to. I was a huge fan of Mr. Kennedy's back in the day. Yeah. Huge.
Well, and he was supposed to be the original illegitimate son of Mr. McMahon before all that stuff went down, and they were lining him up for a big push. He was going to win the heavyweight championship at one point. And then he got injured, and they ended up giving the briefcase to Edge. And turned out Kennedy's injury wasn't as bad as they thought, and he came back earlier than thought, but they had taken the briefcase off him. So there were an awful lot of incidents that led to him not getting to where I think a lot of fans thought he could end up.
He had a lot of potential, but between his injury, because he couldn't stay healthy, that was his thing. Because even when he came, like when that whole incident happened with Denver and Los Angeles, he literally just came back from an injury. And they were just like, I'm going to bring him into this match, kind of just like reintroduce him to everybody. And then next thing you know, he's out of a job.
Right.
Because he wasn't Vince's illegitimate son, because he popped for steroids, I believe it was. He like you said, he dropped the briefcase after he won the Money in the Bank because he got hurt, and then Edge literally cashed it in immediately right after against The Undertaker. That was such a freaking crazy arc, because when he won the Money in the Bank at WrestleMania, I lost my freaking mind. And when he lost the briefcase to Edge, I was like, this is stupid. And then when he cashed it in on The Undertaker, like immediately after, I was like, this is even fucking stupid. I was pissed. I really do wish, Jay, that years ago I had thought of doing this podcast, just because I really would have loved to have broken that down. I mean, there's a lot of things over the years I would have loved to break it down that you and I could have discussed on here. And maybe we do dedicate an episode to where it was a bunch of stuff in the past, and like if this happened now, like we treat it like that type of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know how I would feel about Kennedy returning, honestly. At this point, because I don't know. I'd rather see Carlito.
Yeah. I get that. All right. So this quite possibly is one of the biggest, most shocking things I've heard in quite a while. AEW Fight Forever has an official release date, and it's only a month away. I thought the game was going to be called Develop Forever.
Create Forever. Take Forever. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, Jay, because it's incredible that, and first of all, I like to see it actually happen first. Just like Brian Cox said in Super Troopers, I'll believe that when me shit turns purple and smells like rainbow sherbet. But it got me thinking, because I did write that down in my notes, that June 29th will be the release date of AEW's Fight Forever that took forever, which they announced back on November 10th of 2020. So almost 3 years it took them to develop a video game. And did you know that in that time period, there's been a bunch of stuff that has happened between the time they announced this game was going to get started to the time it got released, to the point where the Brainless One actually has a top 10 list of things that have occurred since they announced that they were going to do this video game. And then 27 years later, they did it. So the top 10 things that have happened since the time they announced the game and the time it gets released. Number 10. We've seen not one, but 2 WWE video games be released. If they somehow make it to like the fall, it'll be 3. Number 9, Cody Rhodes, who is going to be in Fight Forever. It's been taking him for so long. Cody Rhodes is now in WWE.
He's been in WWE for not a short time either. It's been a year.
He's already been in a video game. Number 8.
Words.
You're only smoking mirrors. I love it. Number 8. CM Punk, after a 7.5-year hiatus, debuted in AEW.
And quite possibly have a second debut.
Before it gets released.
I wonder if he'd end up being on the cover of the game again.
I will shit my pants. I'll buy the video game at some point if he's on the cover of the game.
They still have the artwork somewhere.
Number 7, and this one kind of tugs in my hearts a little bit. Betty White died. Sad.
Sad.
Number 6, we had the all-out brawl.
We're not supposed to talk about that anymore. I've heard. So I mean, if you want to say like Voldemort or the thing of which we should not speak, I don't know. Oh wait, that's not us. That's all the other people.
I don't know what you're talking about. I will talk about the all-out brawl until they actually start talking about the all-out brawl. Because it seems like we're the only ones in Cornet that want to talk about the all-out brawl.
Yeah.
Number 5, Ric Flair almost died in the ring in his retirement match number 40.
Mm.
Number 4, this one blows my mind. Number 4, Bad Bunny and Logan Paul have not only made their debuts, but they have established themselves into stars in professional wrestling. That was a good one. Number 3, WWE was sold to Endeavor. Number 2, this one's another good one. Number 2, both you and myself, we both got married since they announced it until the game was released to the Effin' Wives, Effin' Marks Hall of Famers, the Effin' Wives.
Yep.
And the number one thing that has happened since this game was announced to the time it gets released next month, Curtis Axel is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Yes. Yes. He passed 3,000 days.
Yeah?
If we go back, I mean, he was only at like 2,000 days, around 2,000 days. What? Probably like 2,300.
Yeah. I was going to say, I was like, what, from the beginning of the pod? That's how my brain, I'm like, the beginning of the pod? I'm like, no. I'm like, I thought he was like, when we started doing it, his streak was like 94 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Fight Forever is finally getting a release. I heard that Moxley's ending move is called the Blade.
It's called the Bloodbath. My favorite part was they interviewed Kenny, and they're like, do you think there's too much blood in this game? No, I think we got a good amount of blood in this game. It's like that scene in fucking Carrie in the ring. All the blood's everywhere. Oh, Moxley just wrestled.
Yep.
Ooh, question. Since I just mentioned Moxley, this goes to everybody. First blood match. Jon Moxley versus Ric Flair. Who wins?
Dracula.
Because I'm convinced that they literally are the two fastest bleeders in professional wrestling. There's nobody who bleeds faster than those two, or as often as those two. Not even Terry Funk.
I don't think he's breached yet. Was getting busted open, cutting a promo without anybody else, in the ring. I don't know if he's done that yet. I know Flair has.
I mean, that's a really good question. I'm going to have to look to see if Moxley has actually bled in the middle of a promo. Because the only two wrestlers I can think of off the top of my head are Ric Flair and the Sandman.
Right.
And the only reason the Sandman was because he used to take the beer can and he would drink it and he would smash it against his head. So he obviously by the time he might be the fastest bleeder, now that I think about it. And the coolest bleeder.
He would even start it.
With the Singapore cane.
Yeah.
Always makes me think of the time he beat the shit out of the zombie in the first ECW WWE match.
Brains.
And then it was funny because he hits him with the cane and you see all the dust flying off the tube.
It's the Oh, wait.
Speaking of ECW and AEW, so for the Chris Jericho and Adam Cole, baby, for their match, they needed to get a special enforcer because Adam Cole only has Roderick Strong because obviously Kyle O'Reilly's got neck issues and Bobby Fish has to make sure that the Mayflower is set for the 250th anniversary of, or whatever the hell it was, it's 450th or 550th.
Mayflower came in 1620, so it'll be the 423rd annual cruise of the Mayflower.
It's either that or he's got to make sure he's ready for when he does his documentary on when him and Abraham Lincoln main evented Ford Theater.
Or that time when him and Kane wrestled after Kane killed Abel.
He Noah's first match after the Ark had landed was against Bobby Fish.
Well, and according to the Bible, I mean, Noah was laid out. He got laid out. Because we know Fish was the person who he invented martial arts. He invented boxing.
Well, technically, he had to be on the boat because he needed two fish.
All of that. That's Bobby Fish.
But they needed two of every animal on the boat, so Bobby Fish was on there because they needed two fish.
Chris Brown saying they're raising the Titanic only for it to sink again for the next cruise of Jericho. Bobby Fish was actually a survivor of the Titanic.
It's never getting old. I'm sorry. I'm like Bobby Fish. It's never getting old.
Like Bobby Fish, it's never getting old. Oh wait, he's hieroglyphs that were made for him.
It was a picture of a fish, but it was him and not an actual fish. But anyway, so they did an enforcer.
This was just my quick version of the hieroglyph.
That's it is.
Hieroglyph.
I'm not gonna.
See that they're talking about Bobby.
I'll tell you right now. I would try to draw something like that, but I can't draw to save my life. But anyway, so they did a special enforcer for this match. So of all the people in professional wrestling you could think of to bring in to be a special enforcer, at what point, how many people do you go through before you get to Sabu?
I don't know. I know, he lives in Las Vegas, and he still clearly has a lot of fans. I mean, the pop he got is louder than any pop the Bobby Fish ever got, except for, let's see. Yeah, I think the pop I heard was pretty loud for the Abraham Lincoln match when for the ending.
Oh, Jay, the internet remains undefeated. I think it was Thursday. I woke up Thursday morning and I went on Instagram and I saw the picture and it was like the Simpsons meme and they did the picture of it was Adam Cole talking. Oh yeah, we've known him forever, and it was a picture of the Undisputed Era, but they photoshopped Sabu over Bobby Fish. Yeah, he's been a part of the Undisputed Era forever. Sabu. Never thought in all my years.
And you could say Undisputed Era, with Bobby Fish, because, I mean, like, the era has never ended.
Because he invented the word. While traveling across the world with Magellan. He was the only person from Magellan's ship who made it back around the world.
Yeah. Really quite something. Quite something. They don't talk about it a lot, but he was there during the moon landing. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, Bobby Fish. Bobby Fish was operating the camera.
He put Buzz Aldrin in a sleeper hold.
Yeah.
One,
he's like, you're not. No, you're not going to be the third man on the moon.
one small step for man, one giant leap for. Hey, Bobby, get off of him! Oh, Bobby's got Buzz Aldrin in a headlock again, guys.
Anyway, yeah.
Uh,
Bobby Fish.
Speaking of AEW, we have a new AEW tag team that is none other than Aussie Open. After it was announced that I forget what the other guy, Steve Smith or Kevin Smith or something like that, has to have surgery, and they had to vacate the tag team championship they have outside of their other promotions. But Kyle Fletcher did fight Orange Cassidy on Wednesday for the International Championship, and it was after the match that they announced that Aussie Open is now All Elite. I think this is a great addition for AEW because now you got a tag team that's got some experience with FTR. And you've been looking for that second tag team to kind of have a little thing with FTR because your tag team division is basically FTR, the Acclaimed, the Ass Boys,
Jarrett and Lethal.
Jeff Jarrett, and Jay Lethal. So you kind of need established tag teams, and nothing against the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed is a fantastic tag team. The Brainless One loves the Acclaimed, but the fact that Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal are fighting for the tag team championships at Double or Nothing on Sunday is kind of a why. The best you could do is give us Jeff Jarrett, the man who has only drew, what was it, $30 we established, right?
I think it's, $30.
Ooh. By the way, there was a few weeks ago, I forgot about it. I'm glad I just remembered it now. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. But there was a sign at a show that somebody had posted on Instagram, and it was a picture of him that said, "I paid to see Dana Brooke wrestle." They were in the front row. So clearly, by buying that ticket, they spent more money to see Dana Brooke, which means Dana Brooke is now a bigger draw than Jeff Jarrett ever was.
So you talk about drawing and drawing money. We got the return of the Z True Long Island Story.
Woo, woo, woo. You know it.
I remember on one of the original episodes that he kind of made fun of they're like, they tell me I can't draw money, and he literally drew a piece of money on like a notepad and like went like this. He's like, see, I could draw money. Like, and did all sorts of things like that. But because he's in control of it, I think it could be good. I enjoy the fact that he got out of, got released from WWE and has made his own path. And, he doesn't have to take no for an answer anymore because he's his own boss.
Right.
So good for him.
And he is one of those people that he bet on himself too. I mean, granted, I know that the situation between him and Cody when they got released are different, but sure. I mean, he bet on himself and he became a big star. I mean, he wrestled for the NWA World. He was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He was the GCW World Heavyweight Champion and lost it to Nick Gage, who lost it to Masha Slamovich. So there's a woman who is now the an Impact women's wrestler is now the GCW World Heavyweight Champion. But But yeah, I honestly, now that he's not under the umbrella of WWE and he's going to bring back the Z True Long Island story, I'm 100% on board with watching it again. His dad was really my favorite person on the entire show. His dad was great.
So Chris Brown saying, and he subsequently limoed himself, just like John Morrison and Vince McMahon.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So it appears, signed, sealed, delivered, that CM Punk will be returning to AEW. He had some apparently meetings with Tony Khan that went well, and they've hammered out their working relationship going forward. And the things I've heard, I'm encouraged by some of the things Tony Khan allegedly has been able to get signed off with, where clearly he and Punk agreed. So we'll see where this leads. But so one of the things is there is apparently a disparaging remarks clause in CM Punk's contract now. So I think this is one of those things. So when you do a press conference and you're supposed to kind of almost like a work shoot feel, you can't say stuff that's going to cause a nuclear bomb to go off in your locker room. So
you're saying he can't call his co-workers empty-headed dumb fucks anymore?
Probably not.
Can't say that the EVPs can't run a target?
No. And they also will not be discussing publicly any of the stuff that happened with the fight at All Out. So what this signals to me is we are not know how going to get the Elite versus CM Punk, because otherwise that would be the reason to bring them together so they could hash out their stuff in the ring. Well, if they're not allowed to talk about it publicly, clearly this is something they're just going to completely stay away from. And this means that, if they feuded between each other down the line, and you don't use this, to me, it's a complete waste. But Tony Khan, beyond this, did the smart move of getting in writing that the dates that CM Punk has agreed to go to, that he will show up. He walked out on WWE. He more or less walked out on AEW. So if you have, whether it's a live event or an AEW collision or a pay-per-view, and you don't know if this dude's going to fly off the handle and I'm not showing up, I'm mad. Ugh. I mean, you already know, I wouldn't have taken him back. As much as their ratings and as much as their creative have taken a hit with CM Punk not on TV, I think the bigger problem here is Tony Khan has too many shows that he's trying to book. When it was just Dynamite on its own, I thought he did completely fine. But now that he's got 5 hours of programming he's doing every week while helping his dad with the Jaguars, while helping his dad run the football team out in England, does he sleep? How much coke is he doing? Is it more than the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan? I don't know. I can't answer that question, but I think it's a great idea to make sure that CM Punk is going to show up when he says he's going to show up.
I want to mention something really quick that you said that I'm looking at kind of from the outside a little bit. My big thing, this cannot look good for AEW when it comes to impending free agents. And I'm not talking about the guys like Jay White who have incredible rapport with people like Kenny and the Bucks and all these guys. So obviously he worked with these guys in Japan, so he's probably more inclined to go to AEW over WWE. I'm talking about guys like a Drew McIntyre, who allegedly has worked everything out with creative, may or may not have signed a new contract, but Drew McIntyre, let's say he becomes available, and you're like, I can go to Impact. It's a little bit different now, or am I going to go to AEW? Well, let's look at AEW. Look at this drama. They just had this giant fight last year that nobody wants to talk about, that the EVPs are trying to whine and cry and get their way out of even talking about or doing any of this stuff. You have a $1 million gate main event that you're going to throw completely in the trash because your EVPs are soft little bitches and they can't handle what happened. So you try to sweep it under the rug and put basically a non-disclosed agreement on CM Punk that he can't talk about it.
And I think that goes for all of them.
I'm sure it goes for all of them, but like, how does this look good? When you got Dave Meltzer, who keeps throwing gas on the fire in this whole situation, it seems like anytime there was any momentum of CM Punk possibly returning in a positive thought, Dave Meltzer or one of the other, Jericho or Britt Baker or whoever it is just goes in there. Somebody connected to it. One of the EVPs goes in there and just throws a giant monkey wrench in the plans. How does that look if you're an impending free agent? And I'm not talking about the people who are going to get released in a few weeks from WWE. Because I don't think any of them are like, I don't think we're going to see like a Bray Wyatt, or I really want to talk about like maybe him being, Karrion Kross possibly, but I don't see Karrion Kross getting released. But I don't see any like major free agents coming from this. I'm talking about any potential ones, even MJF. When MJF, his contract comes up, there's WWE legends that said that it seems like MJF is starting to tone it down a little bit because he was very ruthless. You kind of got to tone it down if you're going to go PG, right?
Right.
And isn't it kind of interesting that they said that Triple H came out and said that we're thinking about making that third hour of Raw a little bit edgier? Seems a little coincidental with MJF as a potential free agent. Now, I know that WWE with the PG and the fact that Vince McMahon's a fucking lunatic that is going to be running the company until he's dead. But I mean, I'm just saying, it's not a good look when your first taste of adversity is to just sweep it under the rug and pretend like nothing happened and nobody talks about it. I've heard on so many different podcasts from so many different people about so many different times where wrestlers got into fights backstage. I mean, there was one day, I want to say it was JYD and somebody got into a fight in Memphis, and Jerry Lawler had to Punk actually mentioned it. I think it was Coco Beware and somebody got into a fight, and Jerry Lawler dragged them into Jerry Jarrett's office and made them hash it out. That's what you do back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, there was all these times. I mean, back in the day in wrestling, when people were doing shit like this, where people were getting shot, where people were getting their asses kicked, all this stuff. If you hated somebody, that was, what was that?
Bruiser Brody.
Or Bruiser Brody. But like, in situations like this, like somebody would go and like break somebody's leg or something like that. They knew there was actual heat and then people hated each other, but they knew at the end of the day that there was money to be made. If there is money to be made, you can't leave it on the table because you guys have personal differences between each other.
It's like if you're actually professional, you can sit there and make it work. But
have you liked every single coworker you've ever had?
No.
And you've had you have to work with who you work with. If you have a job to do and you are paid to do a job, you have to work with the people you have to work with, whether you like them or not.
Even if they're TWs. Mr. Hall.
Wow, that one really went over my head.
That's all right. Anyway.
Oh, it's going to bother me now. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I just don't think it's a. I wouldn't have brought Punk back, and I think some of the points you're bringing up are valid. It's like going, how does this look to the outside? It seems like very short-term thinking as far as this goes. And, again, is Warner Brothers Discovery, really pushing to have CM Punk as part of this roster? The thing, you know, I don't think it's the greatest idea, but I mean, Vince McMahon has done worse for money than what Tony Khan's doing.
Yeah. It's just silly. You have this big show that's coming up that you want to promote all in, and you're doing it in Wembley, and you have 60, 70, whatever thousand people showing up for this.
Yeah.
And you have, an absolute, this is a main event of main events. Because you're going to have the Elite and FTR and CM Punk.
Right.
That is too good of a match for you to just let it go because Matt, Nick, and Twinkle Toes are upset because CM Punk kicked their ass with Cousin Chris.
And from that, you could then get a singles match between Punk and Kenny.
You could get Punk against Kenny. You could get Punk against Nick. You could get Punk against Matt. You could do so many different things here with just all those interchangeable parts. I'll tell you right now, I've been called a hell of a lot worse than what any of those three or Hangman Page were called by CM Punk during that scrum. And you think I don't want to work with that person. Take my ball and go home. I'm going to go cry to Dave Meltzer and Kota Ibushi. Go run a Target. But they're gonna make money upon themselves, but they could make even more money if they just put their differences aside. And
right.
it's like we could get FTR and CM Punk versus the Elite, but instead we're gonna get Plumber Mox, Wheeler Useless, Daniel Bryanson, and the wrestler formerly known as Cesaro going up against the Cowboy, Twinkle Toes, and the Harley Boys.
The Buckaroos.
Because the Elite and Jon Moxley are the apex of professional wrestling.
Yeah, Chris Brown, you hit the nail on the head. Too big of egos, but also extremely fragile big egos. It's almost like when you blow bubbles and you get that really big bubble, and it's just like it takes just a little, and it's burst. Oh my God! Did you hear what he said? Did you hear what he said?
What do you think would happen? No, seriously, like they had all this talk like Kenny Omega was going to go to WWE. I swear I want it to happen, and only for one reason. Because I want to be in the hallway when him and Brock Lesnar cross paths for the first time, because I want to hear what comes out of Brock's mouth, and I want to see what Kenny fucking Omega does. I'm going to call you Twinkle Toes. What are you going to do, go to Triple H?
Look, we all know it.
Wait, are you going to go to Triple H? Triple H, Brock Lesnar said something to me. Tell him you didn't like it. Go ahead. I dare you.
Anyway.
He told Mustafa Ali to get a life on Monday.
Oh.
Mustafa Ali became the longest shot to win on tomorrow just by having Brock Lesnar cross paths with him. His whole career is destroyed just from that one interaction. It was even worse than him being the leader of Retribution. With Slapjack.
They should bring him in as part of Aussie Open. Wait, New Zealander. Anyway, that's all I got for notes before talking about the two cards.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah. That's all I got left for notes too. Is just the stuff for the two pay-per-view, or I'm sorry, the one pay-per-view and the one premium live event.
Yeah.
So,
All
should we
right.
get into some predictions then?
Yeah, let's get into some predictions.
What do you want to go with first? You want to do Night of Champions first, or you want to do Double or Nothing?
Yeah, let's do Blood Money first.
Okay, we will do Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia.
All right.
All right, where's here it is. Okay. All right. Let's start with Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus.
I'm going to go with Trish here because I don't think this is going to be the last that we see of the two of them. Whether or not they want to continue this on at Money in the Bank or this ends up being a continuance into SummerSlam, because, as we know, SummerSlam, I think, is now an end of a July thing. So it wouldn't be like an exceptionally long wait. So I'm going to go with Trish Stratus here because she wants to still prove and still have the storyline go of her being the greatest of all time.
I cannot bet against Trish Stratus because Trish Stratus is my favorite women's wrestler of all time, going up against one of my other personal favorites in Becky Lynch. This is going to be a fun match.
Yeah.
They're gonna put it all out there. This is going to be fun. And I hope that everybody who watches the Saudi show enjoys it tomorrow. So I'm definitely going with Trish Stratus, though.
Yeah. All right, we got Chris Brown saying Becky wins.
Okay. We'll keep it on the women's momentum here. And we're going to go with Rhea Ripley defending the SmackDown Women's Championship while being a Raw star against Natty Neidhart.
I mean, this is the Stone Cold lead pipe lock of the weekend. Rhea Ripley is beating Natty. Natty is always there to have the good match. And, I mean, at this point, Natty is just there to shine people up. She's not losing any status because, I think at this point she's more of a trainer, producer than she is, trying to be a top line, character, main eventer. Like, she realizes her spot. So Rhea Ripley wins this match.
Now, are we doing
squash? It may be a squash.
Okay. Are we doing locks for both?
Locks for what?
For both. Are we doing a lock for both
the
premium live event?
We could do it for both, but Rhea Ripley for me, she's not losing.
Okay. I agree. She's winning. I'm not putting her as my lock.
Okay. Chris Brown saying Rhea Ripley in 30 seconds.
Wow. 2 squashes.
I wonder if it's going to be Natty gets distracted because she farts in the ring, and, that's part of her character and part of her gimmick,
or
right?
Her cat ears fall off her head.
Right. Could be that. What's up, Tim? Thanks for tuning
in. Bianca Belair defending the Raw Women's Championship on SmackDown side against Asuka.
Again, this is almost a lock too. They had a really good WrestleMania match. They clearly didn't have anybody lined up for Bianca, so they're like going, well, let's do Asuka again. They had a good match. Why not? So I'm going with Bianca winning this match. There ain't no way they're going to take the title off her now. She may hold the title till WrestleMania next year. All right, so we've got a couple of varying opinions on the chat here, just so you could hear this. Okay. Tim says, and I quote, "Fuck Bianca. She needs a heel turn." And then Chris Brown saying, "Asuka wins with the mist."
I'm going to say this. I've been a fan of Bianca's for a few years now. She's been one of the most improved wrestlers from her time down in NXT to where she is now. She's one of the biggest stars. I don't care what anybody says. Her overselling of The Mist a couple weeks ago bothered the hell out of me. I've seen so many people take the Mist shot from Muta, from Tajiri. Hell, I think I've even seen Mikey Whipwreck spit the spew in people's faces before.
I remember the Great Kabuki with it.
The Great Kabuki, that's another one. Jay, that's a hell of dynamite drop in, cousin Jay. Dynamite drop in. I've seen so many people get misted. I've never seen them react the way she did. She acted almost like the Ultimate Warrior when the black shit was pouring from the top of his head when Papa Shango, like when he was feuding with Papa Shango.
Yeah.
But I agree that Bianca is definitely going to win this match, though.
Do you think she should turn heel?
I think that her and the Street Profits are going to eventually turn heel at some point. They've had a hell of a run as faces. They had a brief run as heels down in NXT that kind of lasted like a week, almost like CM Punk being in the New Breed or New Brood or whatever the hell it was of ECW back in the day, where he was there for like 2 weeks and then went back to RVD and all those guys. But yeah, I could see her turning heel. Although, who is? You got to have your next face up, and that was the thing that we were talking about when your biggest face on SmackDown is Charlotte Flair.
She ain't a face.
Nope. So, but Bianca's winning this one. If they're gonna, once they turn her, they're gonna need a new face. Whether it's somebody that they switch from a heel to a face, or somebody that they kind of bring up, boost up in the roster, or if they could get somebody like Roxanne Perez down in NXT to be the new face, because she is. That's your future right there. Roxanne Perez is going to be the face of the women's division the next 5 years, if it's even that long.
Well, I don't know. I think it's going to be I think Rhea's going to be holding that down for a little while.
I will say this. They have a lot of really talented young women down at NXT between Sol Roca and Tiffany Stratton and Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez, Gigi Dolan, JCJ. They got a lot of young women talent that could really turn this women's division into something special down the line. And Roxanne Perez is going to be a huge part of that. So is Rhea Ripley. I'm not discounting Rhea Ripley because she's only in her mid-20s.
Right.
So,
all right. Tim is asking, is Alexa Bliss ever coming back? She is in the same purgatory as one Eric Young. That's the House of Horrors known as Bray Wyatt.
It's unfortunate.
It is.
All right, so Intercontinental Championship match. Gunther versus Mustafa Ali.
This is very similar for me as when we had Zelina Vega versus Rhea. It's for the fans in Saudi Arabia to see Mustafa Ali, somebody who shares their religion and what have you, having a big match for a title in front of the fans who are clearly going to be cheering for him. But Gunther ain't losing this match. It'll be, Mustafa fighting from below, and I can only imagine how many chops he's going to take to the chest.
Lock it up. There it is. Gunther is my lock of the Saudi Arabia show.
Okay.
I would say Gunther in a squash, but I think him and Mustafa Ali have the capabilities of having the best match of the whole weekend. Not just tomorrow. Yeah. If they give them adequate amount of time, and with only 7 matches being on the card, well, 6 of them, because I'm pretty sure that Rhea Ripley and Natty Neidhart is on the pre-show. So if there's not a lot of matches on the card, and you're not going to add like Rick Boogs and LA Knight versus the Headbangers or something like that. So I mean, you could give them enough time, and I think they could definitely kill it. Although they're going to need 27 minutes just to have Roman Reigns do his entrance.
So yeah, there's that.
All right. Brock Lesnar versus the one-armed Cody Rhodes.
They fused a couple of storylines here where the arm breaking thing was something that Brock did to Triple H years ago, and then the kind of discussion behind the scenes was that they took from when at the time Daniel Bryan went against Randy Orton and got a stinger and was like ticked off and like yelling at Triple H like, yeah, well, you would have gone out there and finished the match and you would have done blah, 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 blah. And eventually Triple H relents here. So we're going to get Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar is winning this match because we're going to get a third match, whether it ends up being at Money in the Bank or SummerSlam. There is going to be a third match. I'm going to guess that we get this at SummerSlam because some of the stuff I think Money in the Bank is a big enough deal on its own. And if you want to sell tickets to SummerSlam, you got to have some high profile stuff going. I mean, Brock may even squash him. I'm going to say it might be a high probability. It's like Cody Rhodes with two arms, one on a flip. Exactly. But now that he only has one hand, he doesn't have much of a fighting chance. I mean, this is like going against Brock Lesnar almost.
I mean, I really wanted to pick Cody, and then what happened on Monday happened on Monday, and he basically broke Cody's arm. Not only am I going to pick Brock Lesnar to win this match, Triple H is getting involved in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
I don't know if he's going to be the one that ultimately is like, no, Cody, like he throws in the towel, like was it Arnold Skolin did for Bob Backlund?
Yeah.
Or it was him or Freddie Blassie. I don't remember who. I think it was Arnold Skolin.
Poland.
I thought so. But I mean, or when what was Brett's mom's name?
Yes.
It wasn't Linda.
It wasn't Linda.
Helen Hart. Stu and Helen. When Helen, after Owen had convinced his mom to throw in the towel for Brett at the Survivor Series. Oh, man. I think somehow, I don't know why, I got this weird, like, thinking that it's going to be Triple H somehow getting involved in this shit, and I don't know why.
Maybe so.
Yeah?
All right. Yeah.
How about for the Tag Team Championships? Roman Reigns and my favorite member of the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
So I believe Owens and Zayn are retaining here, and I think, the fractures we're seeing in the Bloodline are going to be part of the ongoing kind of character metamorphosis of Roman Reigns.
Okay.
The thing that we can always talk about with Roman in his title reign is his family has been how he has kept the gold around his waist for all this time. And Roman, the ego that he has, the character that he has, can't stand to hear that. And this might be the beginning of the breakup of the Bloodline and Roman more or less going solo.
Without Solo.
Just out there and shows off that he didn't need them to win all these matches. But this would also supply him new opponents in Solo. And you could bring back around Jey Uso if you want to, before you end up having to have a new bit of opponents going in. But I think this might be part of the character going forward. I'm doing it on my own.
So he's going to go solo without Solo.
He's going solo without Solo.
I'll tell you right now, Jay, if Roman, if it starts now, there's no way he's making it to WrestleMania 40 with the championships. If all he has left is the wise man. Because not only is he going to have to deal with Cody and all those guys, but he's going to have a pissed off Solo. And frankly, I would not want to deal with a pissed off Solo. And I'm still holding out. I don't know if it's hope. I'm still holding out the thought that Jey Uso could legitimately be the one that actually does it, because they keep talking about finishing the story. Doesn't necessarily have to be Cody's story. Could always finish the story of the bloodline, because that's when it started. It was when Roman got the necklace after he beat Jey Uso, when his father Sika and his uncle Afa came out and did the ceremony where they gave him the necklace and exemplified him as the tribal chief. If Jey Uso goes and beats him, I mean, that's it.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I would love for it to be Solo, because that's so unlike what WWE would do. It's phenomenal, but I'm gonna differentiate with you, because if you're gonna go with Sami and KO, I want all the belts on Roman. Roman's taking the tag team championships with Solo tomorrow. Give me Roman and Solo to win the tag team titles.
Is he going to somehow get himself in the heavyweight championship match and take that one too?
I guess we're going to have to wait until we find out from when we do our predictions for the World Heavyweight Championship. Because, which is funny, because there's been two names that have been floating around that could potentially be added to make this a triple threat, and his is one of them. The other one is, if Cody Rhodes can't wrestle, they were talking about moving Brock Lesnar into the world title match. When you're already complaining about the fact that Roman Reigns, who's a part-timer, is your world heavyweight, is your main champion. So to take the title on, put the title on a guy who's not going to be there and defend it anytime, any place, anywhere. Although Brock has been showing up a hell of a lot lately.
Right.
But I think it'd be stupid if either one of them won it. I'm sorry. But let's get to that match. Cody Rhodes. Okay. All right. Seth Rollins versus the phenomenal Seth frickin' Rollins versus the phenomenal AJ Styles for the World Heavyweight Championship. What do you got?
Seth, I mean, a lot of these matches feel like locks, where like you brought the whole OC over to SmackDown. If AJ wins, like this, if it's a ticket for him to go to Raw, then wouldn't the whole OC go? And then again, I come back to, what the heck was the point of the draft? Seth Rollins should win this title, and I'm going with Seth.
We both mentioned it on this podcast previously, that Seth Rollins really has been the MVP of WWE. If Moxley's been the MVP of AEW, Seth Rollins is the MVP of WWE. He deserves this. And did you know that after tomorrow, Seth Rollins will be the first wrestler in WWE history to wrestle in the inaugural match for 3 separate championships?
Yeah?
Because he wrestled in the first ever NXT championship match, and he beat, I think it was Jinder Mahal, to become the NXT champion. He wrestled against Finn Balor 7 years ago for the Universal Championship at SummerSlam, and he's fighting AJ Styles tomorrow. That's three separate times. That's a championship that gets a new or first champion he was in the match for. Just a little tidbit I picked up this week.
Okay. Chris Brown saying, I'm going with AJ Styles simply for the fact that they're unsure of Seth's schedule with the Marvel movie and his apparent inability to do the house show circuit. Now, I know that he's done house shows. He did a house show here last week. And he already shot his stuff for the Marvel movie. Yeah. I think he's actually done. So
they're probably trying to do the smoke and mirrors thing, so they think that he's not going to be there, just to kind of get people thrown off the scent.
So,
but I mean, honestly, if Styles were to win it, he'd be a hell of a person to trade to get Cody Rhodes. Just a thought.
Yeah.
All right, so that is Night of Champions. Now let's let's get into the Donkey Trailer Park Wrestling show for Sunday called Double or Nothing. This is going to be fun because I ran out of room on the piece of paper, so I have it written around everything else.
All right.
This is going to be fun. All right, so let's see. Where are we going to start? Let's start up here. Ethan Page and the Ass Boys. This I don't know what it is about these shows because I think they did this for like last year's Double or Nothing where they put like Sammy Guevara in a random tag team with Frankie Kazarian to take on I don't know what the hell it was. Oh, it was the team with Paige Van Zandt and Christ. Whatever they did with Dan, what's his face? But anyway, Hangman Page. Ethan Page and the Ass Boys going up against the Hardy Boys and Hook.
And I think the stipulation here is if Hardy Party here wins, they end up getting the services of, I think, Ethan Page, and I believe that's one of the stips.
They don't know what the hell they're doing with Ethan Page. Because he was in the thing with Scorpio Sky, and then they got what's his face, the guy who sounds like he had his nuts caught in a vice, Dan Lambert. And then after that, he went and joined Stokely Hathaway's thing. Now Stokely Hathaway's thing is not a thing, and now he's with a freaking ass. I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on. Like, what are they doing with Ethan Page?
They want him to do the stable circuit.
Oh, good. So
to end up in every stable in AEW.
Oh, I can't wait till he goes to QTV then.
Yeah. Going to be great. Chris Brown saying Hardy's and Hook for the win. I agree. You just had Jeff Harvey return, and, you know, you can't have him return and then lose. So I'm
going with the Hardys and Hook just because I don't think Hook's lost a match yet. It'd be a silly way for him to lose his first match, too.
They should have him go against Jade Cargill.
Yeah. It ended in a draw.
Yep.
How about How about the Blackjack Battle Royal where Orange Cassidy defends the International Championship?
You know, they're in Las Vegas. The odds are stacked against Orange Cassidy. It feels like he should lose, because he's going against 20 other individuals. If there was ever anything that was not fair to somebody, it's not fair for Orange Cassidy.
Because he has a 4 2/3 chance of winning this match.
Yes. And if we've learned nothing else from Scott Steiner,
the numbers don't lie.
Else from James Ellsworth, if he's got 2 hands, that means he's got a fighting chance. So because they're in Vegas and it's a long shot, I will go with Orange Cassidy, and my number 2 choice would be Jay White. But I'm going with Orange Cassidy because his back's against the wall, and you know what? We'll see what Pockets can do.
I think it's Orange Cassidy. I can't even pick anybody else. Jay White, but they haven't really done enough with Jay White. I ultimately think that Jay White, Ricky Starks, and the Homeless Man are going to find a way to eliminate each other. And, Roosh, if you're going to do this for Forbidden Door and he can't wrestle, I don't see somebody like him winning it.
Do you have somebody like Bandito win?
They haven't really done anything with these guys. Bandito just wrestled Orange Cassidy and lost. There's a bunch of people. Lee Moriarty, he just lost. Big Bill, he lost. But I'm sorry, it's Orange Cassidy. I gotta go with OC.
Okay.
The House of Black. I'm pretty sure this is a 6-man tag match for the titles. The House of Black versus the team of the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass.
I House of Black has some momentum rolling here, and I think it's too early to take titles off them. So I know as much as Tony Khan loves to just sit there and hot potato most of his titles, I say we keep the trios titles where they are right now, and you do it against somebody who uh, is more over than them right now, which I think will you get somebody who the crowd's so hyped up for. This will bring nothing but more heat to them, and I think that would be a good thing. So I'm
Yes.
going House of.
House of Black, and they pin Daddy Ass.
Yeah,
Yes, I mean they can hot potato the title, or they could just do like what they did with Jade Cargill and just let her run with the title for 500 days.
right.
So, but speaking of which, Jade Cargill defends the TBS championship against Mrs. Johnny Nitro herself, Taya Valkyrie.
They had a match not that long ago. Taya had her debut not that long ago, and like it's kind of been hot and cold, not great, sometimes really good. Jade has really improved a lot in the ring, and I mean her presentation's always been good. Uh, but I think this is where they're gonna start. I think after this, Jade is going to start going against the higher profile names in the women's division. I'm wondering if at some point, she gets in the ring with Dr. Britt Baker and then starts going up that way. But I don't see her losing that title. I mean, I think it's going to be similar to the Goldberg run of like she's not going to lose and she's going to hold, the U.S. title or the TBS title and the women's title at some point.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because I actually am hoping to get a thing posted tomorrow that I wrote up in regards to Jade Cargill, and I mentioned all the things you mentioned. She's winning on Sunday because the person who she's going to be feuding with next is going to be returning on Sunday, and that is one Chris Statlander.
Okay.
She has been out since last summer. I'd say it was, I think, July or August of last year. She tore her ACL, and that was the second time she had the surgery.
Yeah.
She's coming back. She's got to be back in time. It's about that time period when you return from it. Chris Statlander is coming out. Chris Statlander is going to be the new TBS champion.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan. So,
Chris Brown saying Taya wins. It's time for Jade to drop the belt.
okay.
Okay.
Adam Cole, baby, versus the GOAT of GOATs, who has goated more than GOATs have ever goated in the history of Goatdom, Chris Jericho, with the suicidal, homicidal, genocidal, death-defying Sabu as the special enforcer.
And this is a unsanctioned match.
Unsanctioned match, yes.
Seth Franklin Rollins against the King of Kings, Triple H, at WrestleMania. So clearly, that there's going to be they're going to be using smoke and mirrors. They're going to be using an awful lot of weapons. I'm going to guess it's weird that this match is happening without Jon Moxley, but there's going to be somebody bleeding, and probably both of them. With it being Adam Cole's first super high-profile match after coming back, Adam Cole should win. Unless Jericho gets like a lot of cheating and like it's unsanctioned, which means, somebody could come and help him out. I just get the feeling that Adam Cole wins this. He needs it more than Jericho.
I'll say this. I agree with you. He deserves it. This is his first big match since the Owen Hart Cup when he won that. However, since AEW's inception, I can tell you right now that the way that they've been booking, Chris Jericho is winning this match.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That's just the way that I've seen it. every time it looks like Jericho is going to be the one that ends up losing. I mean, how many times do we do it? We could go back and watch episodes. Oh, yeah, we think Jericho's going to lose this one. Oh, yeah, Jericho and the Jericho Appreciation Society is going to lose this one. Yeah, it makes sense that they're going to lose this one. And he wins, and they win, and they win. So I'm telling you, it's going to happen again. I'm going with Chris Jericho.
Okay.
Although, if your pick is right and Adam Cole does win, he's probably the next one up in line to fight whoever's the world champion that we're going to discuss momentarily.
All right. So Chris Brown saying, I'm going Jericho. Tim saying, I think Sabu turns on Adam Cole, baby.
Maybe we get a returning Bobby Fish.
Maybe we do. You never know. I mean, they're in Vegas. Anything can happen.
Anything's possible.
It is.
How about for the AEW Women's Championship? Jamie Hayter versus Tony Storm. That damn Bristol Eastern education.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the Jamie Hayter thing is a storyline. Jamie Hayter's super over. This is her second go-around with Tony Storm in not that long of a time. If Tony Storm loses this, she's going way to the back of the line and not to return for quite a while. So
she's going to be standing behind Thunder Rosa.
Right. But, if Jamie Hayter loses this match, it doesn't set her back so much. I guess it comes down to how much love does Tony Khan have for Tony Storm? Does he love that she has the same name? No. But I think I'll go with Tony Storm.
Okay.
I'm not super confident, but I'm going with Tony Storm.
I'm going to go with Jamie Hayter. I know
Okay.
the rumors with her getting hurt and everything. If she loses, that's definitely the reason why, is because she got hurt. But right. Jamie Hayter's been incredible since she won the championship. I have been really impressed with her. She's one of the few that has actually caught on and has become a star, and they love her. They do. The fans love her. So I'm gonna go with Jamie Hayter over Tony Storm.
All right, Chris Brown agrees, saying Tony Storm. There's no way Jamie's 100%. Okay.
For the TNT Championship, we get.
Second, I got to go to the oven and get out the hot potato.
we got Wardlow defending the TNT Championship in a ladder match against Christian Cage.
This is clearly one of those booking things where, well, I'm going against the other person's specialty match, and, they've got all the advantage, and there's no way the other person can win. Wardlow's winning this match. In fact, I'm going to say for Double or Nothing, this is my Stone Cold Lead Pipe lock, Christian makes everybody look good. I always come back to 2011. Him and Randy Orton had 3 of the greatest matches back to back to back. And you're like going, how are they going to make it better? How are they going to make it better? And they did every freaking time.
Yep.
Christian is going to go out there and shine up Wardlow really nice and hopefully put Wardlow back to where he was a year ago, where he looked like an unstoppable monster. And then it was just trash for him since then. So Wardlow.
Okay. I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go with Christian Cage because, A, the TNT Championship has, like you said, been the hot potato title, and I will laugh my ass off if that title changes hands again on Sunday when Jade Cargill makes it to 502, 3, 4, whatever days it is, as the TBS champion. And I'm going to only tell you this, he's going to win because he has evil Dino Man in his corner.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Dino Man versus Luke Perry.
I don't, man. Jungle Boy looks more and more like his dad every week.
He wins. I don't know if or when I would get to it, but I think I'd like to, when he's wearing the title, just change it into a potato. Put a little steam there, too.
I'm going to mention something about the main event when we get to it that I thought about on Wednesday when I was watching Dynamite.
Okay.
All right. Anarchy in the Arena. The Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club.
Well, I don't think this is going to be the end of this. I think this is the startup of this. Blood and Guts is not too far in the future. I think we get Blackpool Combat Club winning this match, but we're going to have Blood and Guts, and they're going to have another match. And John Moxley, my true Stone Cold Lead Pipe lock of the weekend. John Moxley's going to bleed in this match.
Oh, God, really?
He's on the Blood and Guts match. We might even see his guts in the Blood and Guts match because bleeding ain't enough anymore. And we got a bunch of bloodthirsty wrestling fans, according to, and I agree with MJF. Chris Brown saying Blackpool Combat Club, and I quote, "Fuck the Elite."
I hate to say it. I really do. But I think it's the Elite. I think the Elite is going to come back and win this thing. It's not Anarchy in the Arena unless Eddie Kingston is walking down to the ring with a can of gasoline in his hands, with his blood covering his face and his Yankees t-shirt. I'm going to get that as like a portrait, and I'm going to hang it in my living room at some point because I need that in my life. I'm going to see if I can change it to a Giants shirt, but, we'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with the Elite.
Wow.
I mean, honestly, if I could recuse myself from this match, I would. But that's just I can't do that. I just having me pick between the Plumber Mox and the Moxettes going up against Twinkle Toes and the Hardly Boys and Captain Underpants. No, I don't think so. I don't need to see the cowboy.
Oh.
I should have just taken out a coin and just flipped a quarter and just whatever it landed on I should have picked because I really don't care. I really, really don't care. I hope that they all end up sent to the hospital. Really, I don't care. I don't want anything bad to happen to them. I just want to see them go away for a while.
All right, Chris Brown asks, is Kingston going to be wearing a diaper in that painting or no? No.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. The tag team title match. Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal going up against FTR with Mark Briscoe as special guest referee.
I mean, FTR should keep the titles. They should, and I think they will. I'm going with FTR.
I agree. And I know that Mark Briscoe said that he was going to call this right down the middle as a fair official. Some kind of shit's going to happen. Jay Lethal's going to piss him off, and it's going to lead to him helping FTR win the tag team titles.
In the return of Black Machismo.
Yes. Oh, that would be the ultimate. Oh, and I'm going with the Daily Double for this weekend because I know that in horse racing they do one day and the other one Daily Double races. I am going to do the Daily Double where John Moxley bleeds and Cody Rhodes cries.
Oh, okay. Is that because of his broken arm or because of Dusty Rhodes?
A combination, and he's fighting Brock Lesnar. And Triple H is going to hit him with the sledgehammer for hitting the chair with the sledgehammer 4 years ago.
Okay.
At Double or Nothing. Wow, that just happens to be this weekend, too. Huh, Trips? All right, so before we get into the main event, the Four Pillars Fatal 4-Way AEW World Championship match, I just wanted to mention, because I did happen to watch AEW Dynamite, and I looked at all four of the competitors, and the one thing that really caught my attention was MJF looked like he raided his grandfather's closet before he came out to the ring. Darby Allin looked like he just left a Marilyn Manson concert. Sammy Guevara looks like he just walked out of an Eblin's. And Luke Perry looks like he raided his father's wardrobe on the set of 90210. I saw MJF and I'm like, wow, I don't even have words. I cannot wait until if he actually does go to WWE next year, because it's going to be between him and Seth Rollins over who's going to win our best dressed wrestler. If you do not win the title again for a third consecutive year, Jay.
Right.
But you have some stiff competition because MJF, my goodness, between what he wore on Wednesday this week and what he wore for his bar mitzvah thing that they did.
Right. Yeah. That was something.
I couldn't get over that because Darby Allin came out and I'm like, wow. The beautiful people. The beautiful people. Yeah. See.
Oh.
Sorry.
I thought you kind of got into American Badass there for a half second.
Almost. Yes, I know who Marilyn Manson is, and I do know Marilyn Manson songs.
Yeah.
As Limp Bizkit once said, I'm only human. But Fatal 4-Way, 4 pillars, 1 winner, AEW World Heavyweight Champion, Maxwell Jacob Freeman, Sammy Guevara, Luke Perry, and Darby Allin.
MJF has to win this thing. I don't think any of the other 3 are ready for this. Clearly, Jungle Boy,
go ahead, say it.
Behind the scenes, does not have he's not mature enough. His character's not there enough. He doesn't have the charisma enough. He could go in the ring, but to be a champion, you have to be able to bring people in. And when you're doing something that's supposed to be PR for your damn company, and you can't hold yourself together and you're just a douche, you're taking the pinfall in this match, I'll tell you that much. So you're not ready for this. Sammy Guevara is immature in getting into fights with people behind the scenes, a lot of people behind the scenes. He ain't ready for this. And Marilyn Manson's son, Darby, said next year he wants to go to Mount Everest. If I'm Tony Khan, do I think that the person who wants to scale Mount Everest's first, priority is pro wrestling? I'm going to say no. MJF wins this match because the other 3 aren't up for it.
MJF wins. Darby is the only other person in this match that I could actually see winning this one because he's the only one that belongs in this spot. This is just a way for them to kill off having this 4 pillars. Instead of having them do them individually, he's going to have them knock them out just in case MJF does leave in 2024. Right. Not only is MJF winning this match, it is my lock of the pay-per-view. Double lock it. Jungle Boy is eating the pinfall on Sunday because the last person to hold up the championship on Wednesday is typically the one that eats the pinfall. And like all the other things that you had said, he doesn't deserve this. He's immature. And honestly, after his little showing in England, I'd make him eat the pinfall anyway. But to triple lock it, because everybody's expecting CM Punk to make his return at the second coming of Collision, he's going to confront MJF on Sunday after MJF wins.
Okay.
I got this weird feeling. So I'm seeing multiple people returning to AEW on Sunday, and we're really not seeing any title changes on Saturday. At Night of Champions, the only new champion we're going to get is the one that they have no choice but to give us a new champion for.
Right. All right, so Tim's asking, what did Jungle Boy do? Okay, so for when they have it's all out, right, that they're doing in one stadium, they were doing a press junket, and they sent Jungle Boy out there, and apparently he was a lot of ego, douchey, and kind of standoffish with the fans when the fans paid to get a picture and an autograph. Wasn't he saying like, no, you can't take pictures?
Yes, he said he was going to do the autographs, but he said that the picture taking was not going to happen, and the person who was kind of running the booth was telling him, it's kind of part of the deal. This is what they paid for. You have to do both the pictures and the autographs. And my favorite was when he did the Q&A with him, Ruby Riott, and his girlfriend Anna Jay, and one of the kids had asked, like, if you're a young aspiring wrestling fan who wants to get into the industry, what do you suggest? And he goes, I wouldn't do it. He just kept giving like these type of douchey answers and everything. And this is from multiple people who are at the thing. So I'm sorry. When they send you to do the publicity stuff to kind of like make a name for your company, you're not doing your company any favors by being the face of the company if you're going off and being standoffish and kind of douchey.
Especially when you're a face. Like,
yes.
You can't even say that he was in character, like being a douche. When MJF goes out there and is in public and he's being a douche, like, oh, he's in character.
He's the fucking best. I'm sorry. He is the best fucking heel. And it's not, I mean, Roman and what Roman's doing is one thing, but like MJF lives this shit.
Right.
There was a picture he took a few weeks ago where it was a father and the son, and he nut shot at the son before the picture, and you see him smiling, and MJF said that was the only time I smiled all weekend. This guy is, oh my God, he's so good. He is such a old school flashback heel. He gets it. He understands the business. He is the 5-tool star, which is why there really is going to be a bidding war in 2024. But,
you know, Tim, they can turn that into Jungle Boy becoming a heel, but there ain't no way, ain't no how anytime soon that boy is going to have gold around his waist because he proved how immature and how not ready he is for the responsibility of being a champion. If you act that douchey, and I mean, that should have been a layup.
Yeah.
And he missed the layup.
And it's not a good look when one of the people you got paired with is Ruby Soho, who everybody was gushing over how great she was, dealing with the fans, answering all the questions during the Q&A. She acted the way you were supposed to, being the face of the company, or as a face of the company out in the open, especially if this is your first trip to England. Not a good look, Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
But since the predictions are done, I think it's time we have our good, our bad, and our brainless.
Yeah.
So, Cousin Jay, what do you got for your good this week?
I don't know if this is really good, but I'm going to call it good. but Fight Forever is going to get released. I mean, this, as far as video games go, this is like Guns N' Roses with the Chinese Democracy album, where they talk about it and they talk about it and talk about it, talk about it, and when CM Punk says that they can't manage a target, and the person that's supposed to be managing the project is one of those people, you understand now, like, oh, it took 3 years, and the guy who couldn't manage a target was managing this project. But it is finally going to see the light of day. Jon Moxley will bleed in the game, and I'm glad that they're getting the game out there, and good for them.
As long as if Cody Rhodes is in the game and you hit the triangle button on your PlayStation controller and his character, instead of doing a move, goes, "My father's Dusty Rhodes."
Yeah.
Yeah. Jay, I'm going with Sami Zayn.
Okay.
This whole thing with them, the Saudi Arabians and the Syrians, like, making good with each other, Sami Zayn was able to go on this trip. So he was able to go to Saudi Arabia. So he was able to go to the Holy Land or whatever it was, something that he's always wanted to do. And he posted about it. My God, Jay, there is not anybody in professional wrestling that has just made me feel so good about being a human being more than Sami Zayn has done over the last 6 months or so. Like, you have to be like a terrible, terrible person to not be happy for what has happened with Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
So whenever something good happens for him, I have to share it, and I have to give it to Sami Zayn just because it's an incredible thing for him, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
Especially after when Solo and Roman take the titles from him, and we get 4 belts Roman.
Yeah.
Yeah? What do you got for your bad?
So I'm going with all the stuff going on with CM Punk. I really do hope it works out. I just don't think it will. But the fact that, like, they're like bending over backwards, there's NDA agreements now where you can't talk about the thing that happened. It's good that Tony Khan has stuff about, like, hey, you can't say disparaging stuff, and you can't about the company, and you can't what the heck you call it, no show us. That's good and everything, but I mean, I just think in general this is just a bad call because CM Punk should not be allowed back.
Okay. I understand.
And what is your bad, brainless one?
I'm going to go with the fact that both Dakota Kai and Liv Morgan got injured in the same match. And it really is unfortunate because I adore Dakota Kai. I adore Liv Morgan. Not to discount what I was saying earlier with Dakota Kai and discounting Liv Morgan. They're two of my favorites. And the fact that they got hurt in the same match, and the fact that Dakota got hurt because she was trying to protect Liv Morgan, who had already gotten hurt, makes it just, it's bad. That's why I got my bad for this week.
Okay.
What do you got for your brainless?
Well, let me tell you something, brother. I don't want to see Hulk Hogan and Shane McMahon at WrestleMania. And the fact that match was floated for this year and apparently going to get floated for next year, no thank you. That is my brainless.
Wait, who doesn't want to see that? You!
He's going to hold up on me, brother, while he comes out playing bass for Metallica.
With my George Foreman grill, brother. It's funny, I had something at the beginning of the show, and then we talked about something, and it made me change my mind. I don't remember what the hell it was that I wrote. I must have really scribbled it out, or I can't see it very well, whatever. Anyway, my brainless for this week goes to the Hardley boys. Matt,
Okay.
but not Jeff. Nick and Matt, the Hardley boys. I saw them come out on Wednesday and they did the thing where they were beating up on the Blackpool Combat Club. They were basically helping the Lucha Brothers retain the tag team titles against Claudio and Wheeler Useless. When they dragged Claudio out of the ring, okay, that's number one. How is that not disqualification? Fine. I'll let that one slide.
Right.
But my issue was the shitty kicks that they were dishing out to they were bad. I watched them 7 different times on AEW botches on Twitter. I keep telling myself, Jay, every single day, I said, how is it possible that there's a group of individuals that I could actually hate more than when I did the day before? But then freaking the Young Bucks go on Dynamite and throw some shitty kicks like they're freaking they're one of the Dark Order members trying to beat up Goldust.
I'm laughing at the fact that there's a Twitter account AEW Botches.
The only reason I even know that one exists is because James E. Cornette follows it. My favorite part is they play pretty much the same song, Blue Heaven, in the background. Blue Heaven is a place on earth.
Oh, yeah, Heaven on Earth from Belinda Carlisle.
They play that in the background during all the it's fucking hysterical. I keep following and unfollowing and following and unfollowing, or I think they get deleted or something. It's not such good shit, but it's such good shit. But anyway, when I thought I can't hate the Hardley Boys and Twinkle Toes anymore, they go and they continue to embarrass the wrestling business. I will be fully watching AEW every single week once those 3 assholes are gone.
All right.
But that's my brainless for this week, those shitty-ass kicks. So,
All right.
if you like what you've seen, whether you are a first-time fan or a continuous follower, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E. See, I learned something from Bristol Eastern. The letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F in Marks. If you like, follow and subscribe to us, we will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra. And make sure you set up notifications so that when we are live, you will be notified that we are live so you could join in and talk about our favorite sport we all love to hate, professional wrestling. Also, make sure you give us a subscribe on Spotify. So if you missed the show, you can take us on the road with you. I put the video file up there, but you could also just listen to it. So, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? I think that's it.
That's it. I think that is it. That there's a lot of wrestling going on this weekend, and we talked about a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah? Wait. I can't believe it.
This one.
I can't believe
looks familiar.
Do I look familiar, Cousin Jay? Do I? Is it because I'm in your Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Is it because I was mentioned earlier on the podcast?
Yeah.
Or is it because the fact today, May 26th of 2023, at an incredible 3,043 days, me, myself, I, F.M. Marks Hall of Famer, is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Bow, 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 bow,
Oh,
bow,
Eric Redbeard from behind. Oh. So for the Pie episode, I just realized that 314 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the F of Marks.
I'm Jay. He is
Brainless. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's correct. That is correct. You have disproven your name.
I forgot the one.
You know, you mentioning that we're at 314, that means in 2 weeks, I think we might need to have a couple of Steve Weisers.
What?
What?
Is that the Steve Austin episode? What?
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 I want to have an arena full of a what and a yeah chant.
God. My head would explode because I wouldn't know. I'd lose my voice and my head would explode. But I'm actually, I like that idea of having a Steve Weiser for the 316 episode. I will have a beer during the 316 episode.
All right. All right.
Make sure you mark out
with your guac out. See you, everybody.
Thanks
Enjoy
for tuning in.
All the wrestling that's happening this weekend, and we will be back, same bat time, same bat channel next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Later, everyone.
Later,
Cousin Jay.
See you, Brainless One.
Yeah.
I'll catch you. Yeah.
Yeah.